forecast, mostly sunny skies today with brisk easterly winds.
New York City, the Big Apple. 8 million people, crammed among the towers of glass, concrete, and steel. 8 million diverse appetites in a place where little food is grown or produced. Now ask yourself, how do you feed millions of people every single day? Who makes up the underground army of people who toil around the clock to make sure New Yorkers get breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
The fish is the best thing you can eat.
What drives some to work all night?
You do have to make some sacrifices.
How much? Come on.
Others
This one is a good one.
to hunt for the rarest of delicacies.
That's what we came for.
And still others to struggle for a good meal.
I get blessed and thanked a lot.
Feeding people is important.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's a dance of supply and demand that keeps a city alive. 24 million meals in 24 hours.
Okay, let's go.
As the city that never sleeps heads into another night, a hidden army of food workers is just beginning its day. Midnight, Hunts Point, the Bronx. It's rush hour. Outside this barricaded fortress, the lineup of trucks stretches back forever. The Hunts Point Produce Terminal is the biggest market for fruits and vegetables in the world. New York City's survival depends on what's bought and sold here tonight. Inside its organized chaos, there are more than 3 kilometers of loading docks, crowded with 10,000 people and millions of pallets of produce from every corner of the world.
It's the lifeline. Within 55 miles of this market, we feed in excess of 27 million people. I want to show you these peppers that just came in. They're beautiful. How much? Come on. I told you, take them. I'm gonna take care of you.
50 businesses here compete with each other to get restaurants, distributors, and stores to buy their produce and not the other guys down the dock.
Robert, I need these taken off now.
For 23 years, Mario Andriani has been persuading people to purchase his produce.
I got 442 on this truck.
This business is in his blood.
When I was 7 years old, I started working part-time in a fruit store. When I was 16, I bought my first fruit store. 20, I bought a second store. I wanted something a little different. I wanted to explore a different end of it, and that's when I came to the market.
The market keeps Mario super busy. The race to sell is never ending.
We're machines. It's 24 hours a day. We just keep going.
There is a long, frantic night ahead. After all, this market supplies New York with 80% of all its fruit and veggies. "12:30 a.m. In New York, almost 250,000 people work the night shift. Some make a lot of dough. In Manhattan, the workers at Amy's are busy baking the daily bread for the morning rush. Patrick Nash has had his hand in this business for 20 years.
Kalamazoo, Michigan is where I grew up. I didn't want to be a baker. I didn't know anything about it. I like almost everything about it now. I mean, I didn't initially, but it grew on me. I like the way the dough feels when you cut it out of the bowl. And being good at something makes you like it more, I think, anyway.
Here at Amy's, they make and shape almost 500 kilos of dough a night, all by hand. Because these traditional methods of baking take time, it's a race through the night to fill over 200 different orders.
And I think a lot of people don't last because they don't realize you do have to make some sacrifices if you're going to work full-time at night. You definitely have to either, be just a really high energy person, or you just don't care about sleeping all day and never seeing sunlight, which is how I would put myself in that category.
One of the most labor-intensive jobs is making 1,000 ciabattas a night. Skill and speed are essential to meet the 3:30 a.m. deadline. Because across town, another army of workers is waiting to turn the ciabattas into sandwiches before morning. Most New Yorkers are fast asleep. Like many city dwellers around the world, they have no clue where their food comes from. "1 a.m., a sheep farm near Vermont. Karen Weinberg is off to work. Her van is packed with half a ton of lamb and cheese. She's headed for Manhattan.
I usually wake up around 12:15 at night, and I'm out the door at 1 in the morning.
When you run your own business, you do whatever it takes. If that means a 4-hour drive on a couple hours sleep, then that's what Karen does. And she does it twice a week.
We have customers who are just interested in really good food. And then we have other people who they're interested in quality food, but they're also interested in how the food is produced.
Some of Karen's best customers are the top chefs of New York. They rely on her to be at the market in the morning. "2 a.m. Back at the produce terminal, fruits and vegetables are moving by the truckload.
Let me know when you get to that last skid.
Fresh produce has a short shelf life, so Mario needs to sell as much as he can by morning. There's no time for interruptions.
We had a gentleman who had a bad accident, and he happened to snap his leg coming off one of the platforms. It's a Wednesday night, it's very busy, so we put him on the jack for comfort. I took the jack and I moved him down the platform, and people just stopped to look at me, and they said, "What are you doing?" I said, "We have a business to run. We have to get things going." I need 224 going on a delivery now. I need one more skid on that truck, and that order's got to go. 224 red peppers, get them to Linda. That truck's got to get out of here now.
In this crazy rush of buying and selling, Mario will see 500 tons of fruits and vegetables fly out the door by morning. And much of it, like the peppers, will be on the plates of New Yorkers by sunset.
This is sea bass, striped bass, beeliners, yellowtail snapper, Jamaican butter.
If it swims,
Joe, I got nice pompano, nice grouper.
it's sold here. This is the new Fulton Fish Market at 2:30 a.m.
They come from Brazil, they come from Florida, Long Island.
This is the largest fish market in North America. It's basically one giant refrigerator the size of 3 football fields. And it supplies most New York stores and restaurants with any fish you can imagine.
And these I charge you $4.25.
36 wholesalers sell fish here. And because everyone knows exactly what the guy next to him is doing, competition is cutthroat.
Charge you $6.75 for you.
Angelo Rosa came here from Portugal 23 years ago and has worked at the fish market ever since.
Now the medium I charge you $3.75.
He's one of the best salesmen here.
My friend, it's $3.50 a pound. That's the price. $3? 3? 4?
But today is a slow day.
You want one of this? Oh, no.
It's tough to keep the buyers from driving the prices down.
$3. Pink snapper is $3.25. $3? You got it $3. All right. Want to pay $3.25 for this? All right.
And the price keeps dropping because, well, the buyers bargain a lot.
$3.50? Okay. Bargain a lot, they kill me. They don't bargain, they kill me. Yes, sir. One of those?
In the middle of the night, more food arrives. This cargo has traveled 4,500 kilometers all the way from Ecuador. This is the bi-weekly delivery of bananas, 20 million of them. It takes 2 full days to unload these bananas, and once they touch the ground, Susan Stevens at the Banana Dispatch Nerve Center gets busy.
I watch the deliveries on my computer. I watch these containers come off the ship, and as soon as I see these containers getting off the ship, I dispatch them to my trucks.
She helps run the trucking company that's responsible for delivering most of those bananas to the New York area.
It's rather amazing how far this banana travels from being picked in Ecuador to actually taking a ride on a big ocean liner to get over here, and then once coming off the ship. It's just so tremendous, and that we have so much to do with getting it to your bowl of cereal.
Fast forward to 3 a.m. Paul Rosenblatt unloads those same bananas into his warehouse. They are the cheapest, most popular fruit in North America, and that comes at a price.
It is very tough. It's very competitive. I'm not going to say it's cutthroat, but it's competitive. You'll find that many people who are in the produce business are here because of the family business. This is not the type of a business that you go all of a sudden you say, I want to be in the banana business. And if you were to wake up in the morning and say that, you better check yourself.
Paul can't sell the bananas when they first arrive because they're still green. So to ripen them, he places them in special airtight temperature-controlled rooms where they'll stay for up to a week. It all depends on how yellow his customers want the bananas to be.
Everybody takes them at a different stage, so we try to have every color every day. Not easy to do, but I've been doing this for 36 years. This fruit has to be looked at every day, several times a day. And it's a matter of touch, it's a matter of smell, and the softness of the fruit.
Back at the bakery, the ciabattas are bagged just in time for the 3:30 a.m. deadline. The delivery man has arrived.
One thing I really appreciate about it, especially working here in New York, is that we sell bread to a lot of high-end restaurants. Heads of state from all over the world eat our bread at the UN at times, but we also give to City Harvest. So there are homeless people, people on the lowest end of the economic spectrum also eating our food, which is kind of cool to know that you're feeding such a diverse group of people.
The delivery man rushes the loaves through quiet Manhattan streets to Financier, a little patisserie near Wall Street. The ciabattas are brought upstairs where a troupe of sandwich artists springs into action. So at 4 in the morning, jars of artichokes, wheels of brie, and mountains of ham sail through the air to create 1,000 sandwiches. All 1,000 will be eaten today. Upstairs, in the same restaurant, a crew of pastry makers silently hurries through the night, concentrating on creating thousands of individual Napoleons, tarts, and eclairs for the morning.
Can I have a small, only small one?
Chef and owner Eric Badusha would have it no other way.
Me, every morning when I wake up, I'm happy. And I cannot remember since we opened Financier that I do not wake up before my alarm clock. Because I love what I do.
Raised in Paris, Badusha discovered his passion for pastry as a young boy.
My mom used to love making pastry at home too, which she said she don't do very well. but for me, she was the best.
Now he passes his love of pastry on to his customers, and selling love is good business.
When they're depressed, they need a sweet fix, and when they're happy, they want to celebrate with a sweet. So, I'm not losing here.
Even though he works long hours, many of Padusha's customers envy his job.
I think this business of food is love. You love it, you have no problem. I mean, how many people, even in the banker that I know, they hate what they're doing, and they said you're so lucky to love what you do.
Lucky, but he's still rushed to be ready for opening time.
$4 for you. What about those over there for $3.75? You don't need nothing today?
Not today, man.
I'm gonna check your truck today.
It's about candy store.
I'm gonna check your truck today.
Inspection.
5 a.m. Angelo is getting frustrated with the lack of sales.
Maybe he's telling the truth, I don't know.
If it weren't for his regular customers, he'd be losing money today.
Hi, Angelo. How are you?
I'm all right.
Frank Anea has come here for years. He runs a Midtown fish store. He's the kind of guy who knows exactly what he wants.
Very nice.
Today, he's looking for red snapper.
Very good. We buy a couple thousand pounds of salmon a week, a couple thousand pounds of mixed fish for the stand. Red snapper alone, we must use at least 1,000 pounds a week. Between the wholesale and retail, we generally roll a lot of fish over.
It's 5:30. Frank's day is only beginning. He's got to get back to Manhattan, set up shop, and spend the day at his family's store. "6 a.m. Back up the block, the banana business is booming. Street vendors rush to restock their supplies for the day. 6:30 a.m. Midtown Manhattan. The bananas hit the streets just in time to catch morning commuters. Today, this guy will move about 800 at 35 cents each.
It is still the cheapest food out there. It's a lot cheaper than an order of French fries, and it's definitely a heck of a lot more work.
After a hard day's night, the Nocturnal Underground Army has once again managed to buy, sell, prepare, and deliver food. So that as the city wakes up, millions of New Yorkers can eat millions of breakfasts. "7:30 a.m. New York City's Union Square Market. Sleep deprived from an all-night drive, Karen Weinberg hurries to set up her stall. The lamb and cheese lady used to live here in Manhattan. Back then, she was an industrial psychologist, getting paid big bucks to solve problems for big business. But she always dreamed of greener pastures. So one day, she bought a farm, packed up her husband, moved to the country, and discovered the pastures weren't the only things that were green.
You couldn't eat like you. We were like the naive farmers. We were like the people that all the old-time farmers around probably looked at and said, oh boy, they're gonna really get themselves into trouble because they really don't know what they're doing.
Karen was nothing if not determined. Through trial and error, she learned to raise the sheep in a humane and sustainable way. Her background in psychology came in handy at milking time. Sheep panic easily. But with a little counseling, she got them to line up like obedient school children.
I use a lot of behavior modification techniques, and we found that, it only would take 3 times to teach a sheep pretty much anything we needed them to know. Obviously, we don't need them to, make phone calls.
Karen Karen's sheep aren't making phone calls yet, but they are producing lamb and cheese that discerning New Yorkers love to eat. So the Manhattan market is crucial to her survival. This is where small business meets big opportunity. 8 million potential customers, and one guy with specific needs.
So for next week, I'll have the testicles for you, because by the time I got the order in, they were already done. Yeah.
People in New York can buy food, any time of the day or night, from anywhere they want, and thousands of them choose to go to the Green Market to get their food.
You got it? Awesome. Thank you.
Because they want to have that connection to the people who are actually producing the food.
Chef Michael Anthony from Gramercy Tavern is a regular here. When he goes shopping, only the finest will do.
We source our foods from local sources because that's what tastes best.
When Michael buys something, there's a chain reaction. Word spreads, and the dealer's reputation gets a boost. So when he buys a squash, it's not just a squash.
Cash sale, $5.20.
If he tries it and likes it and puts it on his menu, it could mean big business for this guy.
How much is that?
It was $9.50 for the...
Karen Weinberg is also a winner. This evening, her cheese will be featured on Chef Michael's menu.
The progression of their cheeses has been amazing, so it rivals the best cheeses in the world.
Karen, I'll talk to you soon.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
As the hunt for ingredients continues, across town, the seafood store is open for business. Remember Frank Anea? The guy who was buying the red snapper at 5:30 this morning? Well, it's 11 a.m. and he's still at it. It's preparation and presentation. Making dead fish look delectable is something his family's been doing for generations.
In this one spot, a little over 40 years. But my father's been in business more than that. He's been in Brooklyn, he's been in the Bronx.
Hello, Frank.
Hi, Dominique.
How are you?
Good, how are you, Dominique?
Good. I would like to have something different from the monk.
Okay.
And
have a beautiful red snapper if you want. That's a 3-pound fish. How'd you like it prepared?
maybe in filet.
Okay.
In filet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dominique.
As midday approaches, all around New York, lunch is served.
Tu vas voir ce que tu vas voir.
Ouais. Je vais te faire des et puis des tonnes et puis des.
At Financier Patisserie, the lunch rush begins. Eric Badusha sells the sandwiches made from the bread just baked this morning. And he will sell some 3,000 of his handmade pastries. And just 48 hours ago, this red snapper was swimming off the coast of Florida. Now it's swimming in olive oil. In an apartment overlooking Midtown Manhattan. 1 p.m. John Magazzino is a man on a mission. He's got a valuable stash he wants to get rid of, and time is running out. These are white truffles, stinky, rare little fungi from Italy. John will sell them here in New York for about $2,300 a pound to chefs and gourmands who adore their taste and stench.
You can say they smell a little bit like garlic or they smell a little like Parmesan cheese, but in the end, there's such a unknown kind of pungency and earthiness to them that, you know, it's almost indescribable. And that's what people are paying for when they pay for white truffles.
They don't look like much, but John will sell $1 million worth of these in the short 10-week white truffle season. But they need to be fresh.
The truffles are made up primarily of water, so the second they come out of the ground, they start to evaporate. They're going to lose up to 10% of their weight overnight. And for me, the last thing I want to do is hold on to truffles overnight and lose 10% of their value.
So time is money. Speed is everything. That's why, just 24 hours earlier, John was on a hunt near the town of Alba, Italy, the white truffle capital of the world. Truffles grow wild in the woods just under the ground. You can't see them or hear them, but you can sniff them out. That's where the nose of a truffle hunting dog comes in.
As soon as the dog hones in on that smell, he immediately rushes over to the area and starts digging. At that point, the truffle hunter wants to pull the dog away and dig on his own so that the truffle is not damaged when it's in the ground.
But this dog has her own idea of how truffle hunting works.
She ate it. That was just a small little truffle. It was so small the dog actually swallowed it.
Soon enough, all is forgiven. They hit pay dirt. Just one of the many truffles they'll find today.
This 1 ounce, about $200 on the retail market. This truffle will head on a flight out of Milan later this afternoon and find itself on a table in one of the great restaurants as early as tomorrow night in New York City.
Once they're out of the ground, the clock is ticking. Magazzino wastes no time getting back to New York. This is no business for the faint of heart.
It's still a lot of pressure. These truffles have to get sold immediately because they're going to lose value and they got to go.
The Hunts Point Produce Terminal. The midnight rush is replaced by daytime calm.
Lenny, how you doing, babe? What's up, babe?
Lex Wilder is doing search and rescue.
Hey, George. What I do is I rescue food that's not sellable, but still edible. And I give it to agencies that feed the needy. Wow.
Lex works for City Harvest, an organization dedicated to feeding New York's hungry.
Look at that.
At the produce terminal, he can rescue well over 1 million kilos of fruit and vegetables a year.
If I didn't show up to rescue the food here, it would be thrown out. It would be dumped. How you feeling, man?
His job is to convince businesses to donate leftover produce before it goes bad.
And we got 3 skits of mini peppers in the back.
Really?
Eggplants over there.
Okay, can I just look at them right quick, Dave?
Yeah.
Wow, look at that. We have to make sure the product is 90% good before we can accept it. Look at that. The outside of this had a little mold on it, but look at the inside. It's a beautiful thing. This makes my day. And we have 1, 2, 3 pallets, not counting the peppers over there. Let's go get some more.
Lex works fast.
I'm probably gonna give you 2 skits.
Not a problem.
Okay?
If you gave me one, I'll be satisfied with that.
You'll back up tomorrow with the rest.
Not a problem. You guys have
He moves from business to business.
See if there's anything you guys wish to donate.
I tell you what, Lex, probably in about an hour, I'll let you know.
Sometimes he's lucky.
I would love to have something from you. Plums. Really? Mike,
Many times, he's not so lucky.
anything happening today?
No, I think we're all set today.
You all set today?
Today I got nothing. Tomorrow
It's okay. I'll see you tomorrow. Anything happening today? Nothing. Well, it's always tomorrow, man. If vendors don't have anything, there's nothing we can do about it, you know? Sometimes in 1 week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we will get nothing. You know, you got to take the good with the not so good.
After all, these businesses would rather sell their food than give it away.
They may not get top dollar for it, but they'll get something for it. So instead of donating it to City Harvest, they'll get what they can get for it. And that happens a lot. It's probably happening right now with those plums we saw in Road D. Everything is good, babe. You gotta have people. It's good. You have to be a people person because if you approach them in the wrong way, then they'll turn their back on you. Between today and yesterday, we got 8 today and 22 yesterday. This company gave us 30 pallets of food in 2 days. and how many people are being fed with the food that they give us out here, it's a beautiful thing.
City Harvest has 17 trucks rescuing food from businesses, saving more than 10 million kilos from being discarded. In fact, they rescue so much that they have a control center that tracks the trucks by GPS. "3 p.m., Gramercy Tavern. Chef Michael Anthony is testing the squash he bought earlier at the market, while his staff is busy preparing for the dinner service. It may look chaotic, but a kitchen this size and caliber runs like a pro sports team. Every move and detail has been thought through. In here, nothing is left to chance.
Do we have enough lobster to garnish that soup?
The chef, well, he's like the coach. He's got the game plan, and he's responsible for the performance of the team.
Like any sports team, everyone has a specific role, and if we're doing good, everyone stays close to their position, but slides to help their neighbors. When I look up, I can tell whether the kitchen is in good shape or not, just by seeing the posture and the position of everybody in the kitchen.
Ordering in a shrimp and a ragu, followed by a pork and 3 beef.
His quarterback, the person who runs the kitchen and calls the plays, is otherwise known as the sous chef.
Next is coming 73, 33, and 12.
The sous chef is in charge of making the kitchen work. He's actually orchestrating service.
5 beef, lamb, and pork. 3-outer risotto entree.
It gives me the freedom to move around the kitchen and around the entire restaurant to make sure that I can add special touches to dishes, that I can create a sense of calm or a sense of urgency when it's needed.
If you can't stand the heat, well, you shouldn't be here. But if you can, you're in the big leagues. And it's taken you years of training just to get to this point. The rookies start downstairs, smashing, peeling, chopping, or cracking. And for the privilege of doing this, they've already put in 2 years of chef school. In the kitchen alone, there are 20 people preparing dinner. No wonder it can cost $100 for a meal. On the edge of Harlem, rescued food arrives from City Harvest.
One thing I say is that the customer is always the same. Whether they're paying $100 a plate or it's free, they want what they want when they want it.
You got lots of people out there.
This is Michael Ennis, chef at the Broadway Community, one of 1,200 soup kitchens in New York.
Poulet avec champignons et jambon et lal.
Mangled pronunciation aside, his menu looks like it could be served at any fancy restaurant.
That's a little much.
Michael Ennis used to be a high-end chef, familiar with top-notch cuisine. He would walk past this soup kitchen every day. But one day, the world changed, and he decided to walk inside.
I had been saying for years, oh, there's some kind of soup kitchen over there, I ought to go and volunteer, you know. Never got around to it, but after 9/11, I did get around to it. I think a lot of people had that experience of getting around to something they said they should have done. And as it happened at that time, this place was going through a lot of changes and in great need.
Volunteering here changed his life. He is now the full-time chef, and in turn, he is changing lives with the food he serves.
I couldn't warm up number 10 cans of stuff and still call myself a chef, so I started to do something else.
What he started to do is serve fresh food that he would want to eat.
They're fresh, sustainably grown, right off the farm, organic, and delicious.
The people that come in here are in more need of great fresh vegetables than the people that eat in all the fancy restaurants I've worked in. After all, they get fresh vegetables all the time.
How does he find fresh food? That's the easy part. He knows where to look and gets help from food banks and City Harvest.
I can find food. I'll always find food. Finding the money to keep the lights on, or to pay even the few meager salaries we pay, or to buy supplies, garbage bags, that's a little harder. But in fact, that's very hard. That's the hardest thing to do.
But he keeps doing it because hundreds of people rely on that meal he will serve today. 5 p.m. With his stash of truffles shrinking by the minute, John Magazzino is anxious for a big sale. His first stop, the 4-star Restaurant Daniel.
How was the market there?
It's a little dry.
Yeah?
It's early in the
Vinny?
season, but they smell good. And for the beginning of the season, pretty nice.
He plays it cool because chef restaurateur Daniel Boulou is A, world famous, and B, a picky buyer.
Good to you is okay to me, no?
Yeah.
Are you gonna do an okay price or a good price?
Say.
Well, usually I'm a good client to the truffle supplier. So I tell him, when you come from the airport, you come and see me with all your truffle. And then I'll take what I need. Meaning, I want first pick.
Yeah.
Can I bring my own scale too?
Yeah, you can. You're welcome to. Use this next time.
With every crumb costing money, even which scale to use is a negotiation.
That's good.
I have a better scale.
The sales process is pretty interesting. It's almost like a drug deal. You know, everybody gets pretty excited, and they'll start smelling truffles, and we'll start haggling over the price.
It's not very good, this one, to begin with. Oh, this one is nice.
That one's very good. I saw that. Yep.
Danielle's one of my great customers, but also one of the tougher buyers. He knows quality, and he also knows how to haggle over a price.
Is that all the truffle you found?
That's it.
Huh?
That's it.
That's all you brought?
That's it.
No.
No,
How much a pound?
23.
Oh. Must be kidding.
It is what it is.
You know, for $2,300,
Yeah.
it should blow my nose, like blow my brain.
Yeah, I agree.
This one I'm not blowing my brain, that's for sure. Yeah.
He always gets the price he wants because he knows that I'm always in a desperate situation to get rid of these things.
Yeah.
It's a half pound, a little over half.
Yeah, that's it.
So the total is going to be $1,096.50.
So we have a wonderful meal for you today. Poulet avec champignons, les jambres et l'ail. That's very, very badly pronounced. That's French for chicken with mushrooms, ginger, and garlic. Yes, we can eat.
Near Harlem, chef Michael Ennis has managed to eke out another nutritious meal.
I came to be a chef because I love food, and it's an art and a beautiful thing. But this brings food to another level and has much more meaning for me. Very few jobs do you get blessed a lot, and I get blessed and thanked a lot. As Tom Paine put it, we must all hang together or we will surely hang separately. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to hang together.
The people who make up this city, or any city, are as different as what they eat or where they eat. But they share a moment when all the work stops and dinner is brought to the table. 16 hours ago, vendors were battling over the price of peppers. Now, peppers sold in Hunts Point are being used in thousands of ways. Like in Ricardo Romero's restaurant, where he wants New Yorkers to try dishes from his home country of Venezuela. 18 hours ago, cheese from Karen Weinberg's farm was being driven through the night to reach Manhattan. Now the journey is complete when her cheese is added to Gramercy Tavern's menu. And 8 hours ago, Chef Michael Anthony bought a squash from the green market. And this evening, it's an integral ingredient in a sea bass dish.
And so it's very simple: eggs, truffle, spinach.
And with the sniffing and haggling over, Chef Daniel Boulou can't resist breaking from the chaos of the dinner service to share a shaving of truffles with John Magazzino.
This is one of the benefits of my job.
It's good for a start, huh?
And all across the city, millions of people come together at the evening meal. Most are unaware of the intricate dance that got their food to the plate. But every dance must end. As the cleanup begins, the underground army of night shift workers, well, they're about to do it all over again.